How's it going, guys? My name is Tavarish, and today I modified the most important thing in my cheap Lamborghini. Me. I swear that sounded way less corny in my head. So if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys like it. Subscribe if you like what you see. If you're already subscribed, then thanks so much for watching videos, not only this one, but my previous ones as well, and making this car the most popular car project on YouTube. Thank you so much. This, if you guys don't know, is my 2008 Lamborghini Gallardo Spider. It is taken apart, and I have been piecing it back together over the last few weeks. And we have baby steps to go, but this thing is gonna get started hopefully this week. If not this week, then sometime soon. But I've been actually quite busy this weekend, so let's jump right into it. Sorry, Philly D. So it is no secret that there are a few things in your car that can absolutely change how it drives. Things like superchargers, turbos, intakes, exhaust, short shifters, and coilovers can drastically alter how your car communicates with you. However, there is one thing that can make a night and day difference if you change it, and that's your selection of tire. Now, those of you that follow my build will know that I recently got these brand new Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires to put on my Lamborghini, and when I got them, I said that they should be good for my power and driving goals. Should being the operative word, because at that point, I had no idea what they drove like. Thankfully, my friends at Michelin invited me to their pilot experience at the Sebring racetrack. It's basically a super exclusive field trip for prominent YouTubers, celebrities, and athletes with the purpose of finding out how their tires work. I honestly don't know how I got on that list, but I'll take it. Since I already installed their tires, I really wanted to know what they drove like on a performance car. Not only because I'd like to see what all the fuss is about, but if all goes well, this car is gonna have at least 1,000 horsepower, and I'm not exactly enthusiastic about crashing it. So that's where our story begins. Now here's a caveat with this video. One of my SD cards broke between me filming takes, and I basically lost all my in-car footage. So I'll do my best to relay what I was feeling at the time, since it is pretty fresh in my mind. It also helps that Michelin had plenty of footage, but it might be a little higher production value than what you usually see on my channel. Our video starts with the 100-mile drive from my house to Sebring, or rather the resort an hour away from Sebring, in the middle of nowhere. You be a good girl, okay? But I am the workshop. Look at that thing. Wow. If you are the owner of this Saturn, DM me. That thing is awesome. Take a look at that. This is a Ford GT, and I have seen one in the Detroit Auto Show, but I've never actually seen one sort of in the wild, and never seen one in this color. This is amazing. Take a look at that. And we have a Cadillac, I believe this is CTS-V, and an Audi R8. This is pretty cool. Little Stradman-esque ski box up there. All right, here we are. This is not bad. Really, really not bad. And we have two beds here, I guess so I can jump from one to the other. This is, this is too nice for me. Wow. That is a view. So I'm gonna be here for the next 3 days, and I'm gonna go over the race, I'm gonna go over some cars, and basically having a good time. But check this out. Smoked Chipotle Gator, we got brown sugar, 5-spice beef, pastrami veal, what is this? Barbecue spiced pork and teriyaki soy beef. Good thing I didn't get the vegetarian room. They're the coolest thing I've ever seen though. Take a look at this. Ooh. And pitch black. All right, let's do some car stuff. This is freaking amazing. This is Koenigsegg Agera Rs. This is badged NXS. This actually came in last night. This thing looks so spectacular. I've never actually seen one in the flesh. Actually, I'm lying, that's not true. I've seen one in Geneva, but never seen one sort of in the wild, which is exactly the same thing I said about this one. This isn't one of the cars that we're gonna drive. This is actually a guy that owns it privately here in Florida. And yeah, I met him last night, he's super cool. But this car is just freaking amazing. And you can see the Hoonigan guys over there, Larry Chen and Zach. Yeah, this is gonna be a good day. So we made it to Sebring, and we have some interesting cars. We have a GT350, we have an LC500, and it's like a freaking YouTube convention over here. We have a bunch of people who make videos for their work. Well, I mean, if you can call this work. Today it is, yeah. What are your thoughts on this LC500?
It looks really nice, but
That's not what you said on the bus.
what happens on the bus stays on the bus, all right?
I see how it's going to be, but you got to be careful around Freddie. Yes, sir. You never know when he's going to come at you.
Yeah, this is like the Keemstar of automotive YouTubers. Drama alert. So Michelin actually had these guys come out, and they are following everybody, and it's really cool. You have your own little camera crew following you. This is really meta. Is that heavy?
That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not.
How's that one?
Super heavy, man. It's made out of depleted uranium. After we got to the track that was just off the Sebring main track, I did an 1/8 mile drag racing and braking test with the Porsche 911, where I came this close to beating an actual Porsche driving coach named Shannon McIntosh. The reason I lost was simple. Her car was the faster color, she obviously had better power to weight, the sun was in my eyes, and one of my tires was a half PSI low. In all seriousness, what I learned was that even with multiple launches and a track with a little bit of gravel on it, the Pilot Sport 4S's did not have any problem hooking up and were awesome in braking from around 90 miles an hour to a dead stop over and over again. So the next portion was a handling test where I was given 2 identical BMW 340i's, one with these PS4S's and one with Pirelli P0s, which is actually the stock tire that comes with the Gallardo. And I was told to go around an autocross course with hairpins, wet sections, and chicanes. The results were interesting. So we just came from driving that car with the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, and now we're in the same car with the same size tires with the Pirelli P0s. The Pirelli P0s, while they are a tire that you put on a car, they don't hold a candle to this Pilot Sport 4S. I mean, the car was just sliding around. It was making a ton of noise. It was screaming through the turns when you don't want it to scream, and especially through that wet, it was sort of all over the place. The Pilot Sport 4S, it feels like they just doused the entire tire in glue. So, yeah, it's a night and day difference. I don't even know how you can compare the two. Now that I've had some time to reflect, here's what I learned. Keep in mind, my driving is amateur at best. The car felt much more nervous around turns with the Pirellis and went straight into a 4-wheel drift when turning and transitioning from the dry pavement to the wet. So it was all over the place. It was through the chicanes, and it ended up scrubbing a lot of speed because the car was struggling to get traction every time I gave it throttle with any sort of steering input. It was crazy. So the 4S's, by comparison, just did not care about whether the ground was wet or dry or how much turning I was doing or whether I overcooked it on some turns, which I did. It made me more confident as a driver and allowed me to understand what the car was doing rather than me trying to fight it through every turn, just hoping I would come out facing the right direction. It was a literal night and day difference. Actually, no, not literal, figurative. You know what I mean. With this car, I want to make sure that if I hit a turn and roll onto the throttle, the tires will transfer as much of that power to the ground as possible without turning this expensive rubber into dust. Listen, if I wanted to drift a car, I'd buy the cheapest Nissan 240SX in the USA.
Hoopty away!
To bring the point home, Michelin turned the autocross track into an oval, and told us to race with each other in the same BMWs, with the caveat that the winner of the drag racing challenge would be able to pick the competing car. So since I lost the first race, I drove the Pirelli car, which meant that I had no chance of winning because instead of driving smoothly, I was doing this. But the real reason I lost, of course, is because the other car was cleaner and more aerodynamic, red was clearly a slower color, and the sun was in my eye. But afterwards was the main event. I was allowed to take a car on the actual Sebring racetrack and figure out how a car with these tires actually handles when you beat it like it owes you money. All right, so this is gonna be our ride for, at least for this portion of the track session. And it's a brand new Mustang. It has the Pilot Sport 4S's, the same ones that I have on my Lamborghini. So I'm gonna learn some car control with this thing, and I'm gonna learn how it handles and how it brakes and steers and all that stuff. Not too much of a Mustang guy, but I think me and her are gonna get along just fine. Unfortunately, I have zero footage because my SD card died. But here's what I can tell you. On my first few laps, the Mustang EcoBoost that I had, it handled pretty well. I will say it was a little underpowered since I was in a group with a Mustang GT and a Lexus LC500, but beggars can't be choosers. Let's be honest, it's not really what I wanted to drive anyway. What I actually wanted to drive was a Porsche Cayman 718. It's mid-engine just like this car, it's turbocharged just like this car, and was wearing the same PS4S's that this car had. Other than the power differential and the lack of all-wheel drive, this one is rear-wheel drive biased anyway, I think this would be the closest I can get to a one-to-one analog as possible. So I drove it round and round the track for what seemed like an eternity, and here's what I learned. Number one, I desperately want to get this car out on a track to learn how to drive it cleanly. Just being in a car on a track and driving it at speed makes you want to do it more and more until you're broke and standing on a street corner with a sign that says, "Will work for brake pads." Number two, being smooth, especially on a mid-engine car, is the most important thing to be. Slow and smooth beats twitchy and fast every time. I learned that after maybe overcooking it on a corner and maybe putting two tires in the dirt. Maybe. All right, that happened. It's also important not to panic and take your foot off the gas in a turn quickly because that unsettles the weight of the car, and in a mid-engine car with all the weight in the back, that makes it super easy for the rear end to make a break for it. It's a little scary if that happens on an on-ramp. Also, remembering to use all of the track and not to overdrive when you get excited, I got excited, is the way you'll hopefully keep all four wheels on the ground. Number three, this car has to be set up for handling. I know that most turbo Lambos are just quarter and half mile monsters, but I want mine to be a drivable, chuckable exotic. I want it to be a turbocharged masterpiece. Now it has swift springs in the front, and I'm going to be making sure that all the corners are balanced and my weight distribution is on point. Because the platform is amazing for going around corners, and I want to make sure that I add to it and don't ruin it. So having said all that, driving both cars gave me way more confidence going around a track in my own car. I mean, I was sweating bullets before I did my first lap, and by the last, I was hoping for a few more runs to adjust my technique in the first sketchy high-speed turn. It's a really good experience. I was giving the car 10/10 of my ability, even though the car and its tires weren't really breaking a sweat. And now we come to what I think was the most exciting part of the day. I got into another car, but I didn't drive it. It doesn't have the tires that are on my Lamborghini, the car wasn't mid-engined, and it wasn't turbocharged. However, it was the most memorable automotive experience I've ever had, and I'm still actually pretty sore from it. Ow. I did a hot lap around Sebring, one of the most violently bumpy tracks in the world, in a BMW Z4 GT LM car, a car that had pole position earlier that day during qualifying. Thankfully, I used an SD card that didn't die, and I did get some footage from my ride. Here it is, unedited. Bruh. So the thing about that car isn't the speed. It actually has less power than this car did stock. My daily driver has 100 more horsepower, so it's not exactly slow in a straight line, but it's just okay. What's absolutely brain-altering though is the G-force when the driver going 150 miles an hour into a turn slams on the brakes and your head immediately goes between your knees. Jeremy Clarkson once said about the Caparo T1 that you couldn't stop faster if you hit a tree, and it's true. It feels like you're in a car accident every single time that middle pedal is pressed. And that is not hyperbole. It is the most insanely satisfying thing I've ever experienced in a car, and it is scary as hell. And when it comes to a turn, your body, bound by the laws of physics, slams itself into the door because race car drivers pull 1.5 to 2 Gs on some of the tighter bends. And if you don't know what that feels like, it's like taking a ride in a nitrous-injected clothes dryer. Go back and rewatch the clip. When you see the camera inexplicably turned down, it's not me forgetting to film, it's just simply me not being able to keep my arms up enough to hold a camera. After one lap, I was exhausted, so I can't imagine what it's like for somebody to do this for 3 or 4 hours with 30 cars on the track all trying to take you out. Race car drivers, you have my respect, but let's be honest, you're nuts. I then took a ride in a stock Ferrari 458 around the same track, and it felt like a sleepy Uber driver's Camry in comparison to what I just went through. And then after that long and eventful day, Michelin set up a dinner on the track, which is the thing to do if you're balling out of control. Now, I did stay for the race and I did have some great conversations with Michelin executives, other prominent YouTubers, and really good fans. And I even saw one super cringy bikini competition, but I'll be talking about that on my Wrench Everyday podcast. So subscribe to that down below because the stories are pretty good. And you guys know me, I don't like to toot my own horn. Did I mention I own a Lamborghini? So that's what I learned on this awesome trip. Thank you so much, Michelin, for sending me out and letting me know that the PS4S is probably the best tire out there, especially for a performance car like this one. Now, I am actually gonna put PS4Ss on every single one of my cars. They are summer tires, they're not all season, so if it snows in your area, you might wanna get some tires for that sort of thing. But for me, I live in Florida, doesn't snow, but it does rain a lot, and the PS4Ss are really good in the wet. So I'm really happy about that. I'm way more confident, and I'm way more confident in driving this car. I'm not gonna be scared of it. Well, maybe a little bit. But I'm really excited about what we have in store for this build, especially in this coming week, because I'm gonna try to get this thing running. We're gonna try to have all the turbo piping at least mocked up because we're making everything custom. And we're gonna have that new fuel system, and this thing is gonna be purring like a kitten. I'm gonna try, that's the operative word there. So don't hold me to it, but we're gonna burn the midnight oil on this thing. So stay tuned for tomorrow's video where we will be getting our hands a little bit more dirty than they are now. So if you'd like to contact me, you can do so at TheRealTavarish. That is Instagram and Twitter. Facebook.com/AskTavarish and AskTavarish@gmail.com is my email. You guys have been awesome in sending me emails. I get so many per day and I do read every single one. So thank you very much everyone who sends them, and yeah, go ahead, send away. Everything is down below. If you guys want to wear a shirt that lets everybody know that you are the warranty, with this I Am the Warranty t-shirt, then you can get them in my Teespring store down below. All the proceeds go to charity. I haven't really made a big deal about that, but I will be announcing that in my Wrench Everyday podcast, and I will be announcing that in this show as I am right now. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I just felt like I want to give back to the community. So yeah, we're gonna be doing some really good things. So shirts down below. If you want to subscribe to the Wrench Everyday podcast and you don't have your Tavarish fix, then that is my daily podcast with my partner Andrew Howell, and it's really good. It's been growing pretty well over the last 2 weeks. I'm really excited about it. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. So check it out. That's also in the link below. But until next time, this is me telling you that on this car that has awesome tires, and I know now how to drive on these tires without going backwards in a cloud of smoke. You guys need to wrench every day.